Hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening. I just want to say welcome everybody back to the Black Bet Experience. Not the Black Bet Experience. I've been getting some things mixed up. I'm sorry. Back to the conversation. We got this thing going. I want to thank you guys so much for your continued support. We're back for another episode, man. We're on episode 63. 63. So I'm grateful, truly grateful for a year and a half of a little bit over a year going on. Yeah, almost. Yeah, it's been over a year, about 14 months right now, 14, 15 months. So I'm just grateful for this and we can keep this thing going, keep this conversation going. And, uh, you know, I'm just happy to be here, happy to just continue to share this content and be on this platform with you all. I'm doing what I usually do every week. Excuse me, going through my usual. But hey, as you check in, let me know where you watching from, which let me know where you tuning in from, and we're gonna get this thing going. I know again we are in full-fledged football season. I was able to watch my Tide roll earlier. I know some people a little bit disappointed, but I'm a college football fanatic, so I'm just enjoying the fact that we're able to continue to keep this thing going on. But I'm gonna share this. Make sure you share this with some people before we jump in and get ready for this conversation tonight. I would tell you, man, Thanksgiving is coming up. This year, 2021 is almost gone. It's hard to kind of imagine that, think about that, about 2021. Because what I remember, if you think back to last year with everything and all of the long way that we've come, just dealing with this pandemic and kind of getting back to a somewhat sense of normalcy. We've all been through a lot, but as we look back, man, this year, time don't stop. Time continues to keep going. So I'm just grateful for just another opportunity to just get on here, share, and still be among the living. And I say that because I am more than grateful, and I don't take life. I don't take life for granted. But besides all of that, I'm sharing this just a little bit more, and then we're gonna go ahead on and jump right on this. Again, feel free to share. Feel free to let somebody know where you tuning in from. We got Miss Valeda Page Banks. Thank you. How you doing, Miss Valeda? Thank you again for your support. I thank you. Thank you so much. You truly have been a blessing in your continued support, and I appreciate it very much, very very much. I'm going to share this one last time, and we're going to get right on it because tonight's subject is a subject that I think I really really feel is going to really hit home for a lot of people. Hey Kim, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, and before we do that, before we even get started, I want to share this. Once I share this, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Kimberly Evans, with her business that she have, Kimmy's Corners Creations. I would tell you, you want to patronize her business. I have some t-shirts coming. She's got them coming for me that I will be using as promotionals for this show. So if you want to reach out to her, man, Kimmy's Corners Creation, I would tell you, very professional, very about her business. And, we all grew up together. So that's somebody I just want to give a shout out. And that's the person I wanted to highlight this week as far as with small business owners and somebody that I know. All right. So now that I shared and I got through the pleasantries of usual, what's going on, Mika? How you doing? All right. So once we got it, I would tell you tonight is going to be one of those topics that's really probably going to hit home for a lot of people. And the reason why I felt like it was necessary to have this conversation is because a lot of people have suffered or are still suffering from the impact of what we're going to talk about tonight. They're really struggling, and it impacted them with their relationships with their kids, with their relationship with their spouses, with their relationship with their siblings, their families, even with work people. They are impacted based off of the neglect that came from the subject that we're going to talk about tonight. And Kim, I would tell you, hey, you're much appreciated. I thank all of what you do and keep doing your thing. But tonight, man, we're going to jump right into it. The subject of the night is we want to talk about just because you have been present, it doesn't automatically mean that you have been there. And I'll say that again. Just because you have been present in person, just because you have been present in the house, just because you have been present in the home, just because you have been present cohabitating with somebody, that does not automatically mean that you have been there. How you doing, Miss Juanita? Good to see you. The reason why I really wanted to talk about this tonight, because a lot of times we feel as if just because I'm there, that fills all of the gaps or all of the needs that need to be met, and it should automatically be sufficient enough to cover that, when actuality is not. And I'm sharing that because, and I talked ad nauseum before, but I've shared a lot of times before about with me and my dad. Growing up, my dad was a pastor. He pastored 2 churches. My dad had been preaching ever since he was a little boy. Been an ordained minister since he was 16, and pastoring ever since I think he was like 20, 21 years old. So my dad had already been in the game. So growing up, that's all I saw. That's all I saw, and I always saw my dad as this one person. And growing up as a kid, there was a lot of things that, even though my dad was present in the house and he was there with me, and I don't have the point of reference of not having a father in the household. I don't have a point of reference of not being loved, as far as with being supported and all those things. I'm not speaking from that. What I am speaking from is those places and those areas in my life where, even though my dad was present in person, he wasn't present there. He wasn't there for me in the ways that I needed him to be there. And I say that because a lot of us are impacted by that. We don't talk about it. What we really do is we grow up and we just be like, you know what? I'm good. You know what I'm saying? They ain't really bother me. I got over it. It ain't kill me. But it really bothers you because it creates a lot of trust issues for you. It creates a lot of times where we put up barriers and a lot of things that impact those who are closest to us. And a lot of times, if we don't really address it or deal with it, we really become the same thing the same thing or the same person that did that to us. We become that same person because we don't deal with it. We don't want to address it. You know what I'm saying? And we feel as if, and a lot of times, and I'm really going to jump into this, but we feel as if we should be getting credit for being there when we wasn't meeting the needs of the person. So, and we got some comments. I just want to say, Miss Juanita, it's good seeing you. And hey, Coach, how you doing? Good evening. Good evening to you. But I say that because there's so many times, and if we all think about it, right? And I'm not just saying this. Miss Geraldine said so true. And I'm not just saying this to say this or try to talk or create anything. As I look back and I examine my life, myself, and I, there are certain people that has always been there, consistently been there to be supportive of me in the areas in which I needed them. Even without asking, they were there. They didn't have to be reminded. They didn't have to be nag. They didn't have to do none of that. They were there for me in those areas in which I needed them. And I would say those people, and I can always really, really depend on them just to be there for me emotionally, be there for me financially, to be there for me in all the different ways. And a lot of times we mess up because we can 100% be there for somebody in one lane and completely miss it in a whole nother lane. My father was a provider. My father made sure that his family was good. But when I was growing up, my daddy wasn't there for me being at the games that I wanted him to be there for. My daddy wasn't there for me in certain other capacities, which in turn led for me to have a void on the inside that perpetuated itself and manifested itself by me seeking to fill that void in so many different other areas as I grew older, to the point to where I had to get back to truly get an understanding of who I was as a person, so that I can begin to walk on that journey of being made whole. And a lot of times we don't even understand why we are the way that we are, and we just chalk it up. But a lot of it is we got trust issues because we was let down so much by the people that's supposed to be there. So that's why everything now we got to have control over. That's why everything right now, we just got to know, it just got to be our way. And that's our coping mechanism. That's our way that we try to do to try to control it, to give us a false sense of security, because we don't want to be let down anymore for somebody not being there. Even if they're present, we still want them, we still want to know every detail because of the insecurities that comes from it. Because of the insecurities that comes from the letdown, from or the neglect or the disappointment that came from them not being there for us the way that they should have been there for us. And yes, a lot of this is based off of expectation. It is, but a lot of this is, it's not unrealistic expectation, especially when it comes to parents being there, especially when it comes to a lot of for emotional support. For the emotional support. Kim said that's the truth. Janika says she's dealing with that. She said she's dealing with this now. And Miss Juanita said we need the emotional connection, the relationship connection. We need the emotional connection, the relationship connection. Okay, so one of the things I really want to talk about with that is it is so necessary for us to realize and get to the point to acknowledge that it did impact us. Because one of the things is we convince ourselves, we spend so much time lying to ourselves that it didn't impact us, to where in actuality, it did. It impacted you on a major level. On a major level. I mean, on a major level. But you don't never want to talk about it, because guess what? If I have to talk about it and go back and deal with it and face it, now I'm digging up old wounds that I tried to suppress. But realistically, I need to know, Mama, why you weren't there for me? Why you weren't there for me emotionally? Yeah, you worked. Yeah, you went. You worked. You provided for me. And I would tell you this: a lot of this comes from our own selfishness as people, that we try to project on other people, and then we don't care even about it, about how it impacts the other people, because what we're concerned with is what we want. Let me give you an example of that. What I mean by that is, I grew up poor. Say I grew up poor, I didn't have anything. So I make up in my mind that I'm gonna make sure that my kids always have the best clothes, always have everything that I didn't have, because I don't want them to feel the same things that I felt by not having and feeling like you're beneath other people and always being without. So I'm going out and I'm grinding. I'm working 5, 6, 7 jobs. I'm just grinding. I'm getting it in, and I'm never there for them. But in my mind, my kids had it better than me, materialistic, but I wasn't there to be there for them on the emotional standpoint. I wasn't there to spend time with them. I wasn't there to encourage them. I wasn't there, but I gave them money. And I don't even realize that just because I have a big house and my bills pays and I'm financially set and I've always provided for my kids, I realistically have neglected them and wounded them so much emotionally that they may even have a negative connotation with the job or pursuing a job and pursuing a career, because they saw that I prioritized my career over them. And now the conflict, as they get older, now they don't really want to work. And you always on them about, man, why you ain't working? Why you ain't this, that, and the third? But the kids don't even feel like, you know what? I don't even really feel like I'm comfortable enough of telling you the truth, that I really don't like working like that, because you always worked and you wasn't there for me. Because now that's potential conflict. Miss Valeda Page Banks said, sometimes the things we miss out on or didn't have, we tend to be mean or hate the people that have what we didn't have. And then she said, and what we wanted. That is true. That is so true. We tend to be mean, but this is the thing about it. We tend to neglect those that the closest to us by really filling a void that's on the inside of us. Being dead serious with you. Like, that's processing that pain. My kids ain't had nothing to do with how I grew up. Honestly. So me wanting material things for them to feel like, okay, they got joys and they got all this. And then now I created a whole generation of feeling entitled because I never taught them the art of earning things. Because now they get older and they get out there, get ready for the world. And then what the reality of the world is, the world don't care at all about your background. And then the world, you got to go out there and get it. But now they just so used to you always giving them stuff. They having all this stuff for their birthdays. They never have to work for anything. They never had to earn anything because you gave it to them because you didn't want them to feel like what you felt. And I would tell you what we get caught into that trap about giving, trying to give our kids something what we didn't have instead of giving them the things that they need. The emotional support. You know how many rich kids out here that could care less about they got trust funds and all of this stuff, and they don't have no connection with their parents because they're not there with them. Yeah, they got money, but they're not there for them. And I would tell you that's a lonely place to be. It's a very lonely place to be. And not only that, though, we got people that grew up that their parents were so emotionally damaged that they wasn't there for them to help them develop emotionally, to help teach them those necessary skills of how to live this life, like coping mechanisms, how to conflict resolution, how to live with people, how to cohabitate, how to be a teammate, how to be successful in relationships and all of that. And they grow up and their parents are so emotionally bruised and battered, and they never heal, where their kids grow up in that same environment. And then the parent feels like when the kids have the issues and they dealing with their dysfunction because of the environment that the parent perpetuated, the parent gets upset and never want to talk about it with the kids because now I ain't got time for that. I don't want to deal with that, and don't even realize the damage that it's doing to those kids. That's why it's so important that I always talked about realizing that your pain may not have been your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. Yes, you may not get the apology from the person who caused the pain. Watch this. A lot of people who cause pain have been hurt themselves and not got to a place mentally that they're ready to deal with it. You don't have to wait on them to get ready to deal with the pain before you be able, just so you can deal with yours. What you mean by that, Shep? You may not get that apology from the person that hurt you. You may not get that apology from your mama. You may not get that apology from your dad or from your grandma or whatever. You may not get what you were looking for or the source of that pain. You may not get that. But what you do not want is to not deal with it and heal so that you continue to grow and you become that person who is present but not there. And I would tell you, when you're talking about somebody who is present but not there, that is one of the most disheartening things that an individual can go through, by having somebody who is there physically, but mentally, emotionally, they are not there supportive. And that's something that hurts you deep down to the core of your being, of the person that you are. It's something that hurts and it cuts deep. It cuts deep because there's an expectation that, guess what? If you're there, if you say and you in a position that you're supposed to be committed, there's an expectation to receive, or even the effort to receive. But a lot of times that effort is not there. And the reason why it's not there is because a lot of those same people, they're wounded, but they don't want to deal with the hurt. They don't want to deal with the pain. They don't want to deal with it. So they just keep living their life. And you see it. This is how you see it. This is how you see it. Miss Juanita said, it's like being a prisoner in your own mind. Yes, that is so true. This is how you see it manifest itself. These people, they are so dysfunctional that they become, because they refuse, if you refuse to deal with the thing that caused your hurt and pain, especially from the being neglected or somebody not being there, you eventually will become the same person what you hated because you never dealt with that pain. And that's how, when we talk about generational curses and all these things, these behaviors and different things like that, that's how generational curses are passed on. Because guess what? You can have people that grow up in the same house all deal with and be exposed to the same trauma. But all of them, you can have 5 people grew up in the same house, all dealt with or exposed to the same trauma, and all 5 of them deal with it in a different way. And those who choose to deal with it, really deal with it, not just say, I'm going to forget about it. Those who choose to deal with it tend to have the strength and the foundation to build better lives for those that come after them. And those who don't, they eventually begin to perpetuate the same thing that happened to them because they were hurt. Like we say this all the time. We say it all the time and we see it all the time, but that is something that's so true. Ms. Paige Banks said, most of the parents that try to give their children all the things they didn't have, the children really don't care. But the things that they need, some of the parents can't give them, and money can't buy it. Time spent with your children, time spent with your children and teaching them the way of life is not being taught. Clothes never made you the person you are. That is so true. That right there is so true. Like, you can give them that, but that still doesn't mean like, and that's a prime example of you being present, but you not being there. You giving your kids all of this stuff. And reason why you giving your kids all this stuff, because it's about you and your ego. It ain't got nothing to do with them kids. Nothing at all to do with them kids. Nothing. It has 0% to do with those kids. It's all about what you want other people to say about you, how you want other people to feel about how you taking care of yours. For real. And you're not teaching them the necessary things that they need about being a good person, being a person of integrity, being a person of character, teaching them about being a responsible adult, teaching them about being able to be an asset to society and not a liability to society. And we wondering why, as our kids get older, why they go and they do certain things. And, first of all, the kids going to do what they want to do. But a lot of that falls under how we interacted with them. I would tell you, it's a shame. And a lot of people don't realize this. And this is one of the symptoms. One of the symptoms of this is so a lot of people don't realize this. One of the symptoms of being present but not being there is your kids don't really want to come home to visit you after they get of age to leave. They come around you but they don't want to be in your presence because of what you represent. But then you yourself, you don't even want to take the time to realize that you are part of the problem. That you are part of the problem. But you just see it like, oh, that's just how you are. Your kids ain't getting it. No, you the problem. You are the problem because you choose your job over your kids. You're the problem because you choose your boyfriend or your husband. You choose people over your kids. You choose your organization. You choose your hobbies. You choose all of these things over them, and you just want to just give them certain things like it's supposed to be there. And I would tell you, kids I remember my daddy not coming to my baseball games. I remember my mom being there, my granddaddy being there, and my uncle being there, my uncle and my brother being there. And we in Greensboro, and they come from Demopolis. And I can remember seeing them in the stands out at Lions Park in Greensboro and showing up to support me, but me still being disappointed because I'm looking for my daddy to be there, but my dad is not there. But as a child, I didn't know how to express that. As a child, I still, when I saw mom and granddad and them after the game, I was excited to see them there. But it still was a void, well, why my daddy not there? But then when I hear that a church member call or whatever, my dad will be there and helping other people, that bothered me on the inside. I didn't talk about it a lot, but it did bother me because in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm your son, why aren't you putting that same energy and effort towards me that you were when you talking about giving to the church? And I would tell you, it took it took a while, and that created a void. I'm being honest with you. I had an issue. It wasn't that I hated my dad. It just I had an issue because realistically, I didn't trust my father to the capacity of that he truly, truly was there for me. And I can say that now after looking back and examining it, but as I went through it, it was just like it is what it is. But I truly couldn't trust my father for being there. So in turn, what I expected from him, I was disappointed. So based off that disappointed, it created these voids and that, but you know, that feeling of letdown and that hurt and all those hurt that came. Just like I said before, I tried to fill those voids through promiscuity. And I say that because, and it manifested itself when I got to be 21 years old and I asked God why I was the way I was. And the thing about it was God allowed me and my father to reconcile. He healed that relationship, and I began to see that a lot of things he was doing, he wasn't doing from a malice place. He was just doing what he felt like at the moment was the right thing to do. And a lot of us, we do those things. We're doing what we feel like is the right thing to do. We working those extra hours. We doing those extra things. But is it really what our kids need? Is it really what our significant other need from us? Are we really being there? Or am I just present and I want credit for that? It's just like this. It's like me not wanting to go to class, but I want to show up at the beginning of class to sign the roster of a 3-hour class and leave immediately after I sign. And as the whole time I'm being called on through those 3 hours, I don't answer, but I get mad at the end because the teacher don't give me credit. But I come back and I try to argue that I was there and I signed in, but you weren't there for the whole process. Janika said it. Hello, somebody. She said exactly why I don't want to come around. I don't want to be around the problem. Listen, that right there is the Achilles heel to a lot of relationships with parents and their kids. And the parents, you are in the dead wrong, but you are too prideful to say, you know what, maybe I was wrong with this. Yeah. Hey, you know, every time it's time to come around, why you don't want to come around? But you can't be defensive when they're telling you the truth. Because the reality is this, it's not about what your intention was, it's about how it impacted them. And I think a lot of times people get that construed because we can be like, well, that just what it wasn't my intention to hurt you. I'm not saying it was, but it did hurt me. So you can't negate your actions that impacted me in a negative way. And you can't just say, well, my intentions wanted to do that. So your feelings are how it impacted you or how it made you feel it are invalid. You can't do that. You don't have the right to do that. And I will tell you a lot of times, I will say this because this is so necessary. There are so many examples of being present but not being there. And I use my father, and I'm not saying like me and my dad was going at it or, you know, we had a beef or whatever. No, God allowed my father to get a second chance. And when I say he, like that song say he understood the assignment, he fully understood the assignment. And I was able to see a change of somebody taking a chance of a second opportunity. The reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because somebody hearing this right now, you can have a second opportunity. You can have a second chance to do the right thing. You can have a second chance of making it right, going back and mending that relationship, apologizing, owning it. It doesn't matter what it was, because guess what? As you own it, and as you take that step, that may lead you to heal a while, and then you get to the reason why you did it. And then now you can have that conversation, and both of y'all can walk on that path of healing together, and that will stop that generational curse. Because the reason why you was that way is because you grew up in an environment where nobody told you that they love you. They didn't affirm you. They talked about you, or they were very harsh with their words. And you know, one thing I would tell you, for me, this is for me, and to each his own, but for me, I have a hard time with people that just say this, that have this mindset. Well, you should know I love you, so why I got to tell you? And a lot of people are like that because they grew up in homes, grew up in environments where people didn't express that love to them. Because that's not one person that want to hear, hey, I love you. That's not one person that want to hear, hey, I appreciate you. That's not one person that want to, you know what? I thank you for what you do for me. That's not one person that don't want to hear, hey, I'm here for you. That's not one person. That's not one person. That's not. So if you're doing that, you hurt, but you don't even know how to express it. So you just hold on to that hurt and you walk around and you just carrying all of that and you don't want to do anything to make it better, but you want everybody else around you to change and shift, all because you grew up in dysfunction and you don't want to change that comfort zone. And it's not a comfort zone because it's dysfunctional. You don't really like it, but you're too scared of what the other side will be. Janika said that, she said, and once truth is spoken, it's irrelevant or invalid. I would tell you that do not invalidate anybody else that comes to you and you hurt them. Like, one of the worst things you can do, if I do something to you that is hurtful to you or offensive to you, even if I don't feel like, even if I know my intentions wasn't hurtful or to be offensive, I'm never going to come back to you and be like, well, I'm sorry that you was offended. Who does, like, how can I apologize for something that impacted you? And I can say, hey, I apologize for offending you, not making you feel that way. I apologize for offending you. It wasn't my intentions of doing that. And then if you want to carry on the conversation, we can carry on the conversation. I can explain to you where I came from. You can explain to me where you came from, and we can come to an understanding. But for me to try to just invalidate how you feel in the form of being passive aggressive and an apology, no, that's disrespectful, complete disrespect. And I like this proclamation you said, Janika. It stops with me. It stops with me. And I would tell you, and I'm not, Janika, I'm not going to put your business out there, but I will say this about you. I can remember meeting Janika, I think it was 2012 in Germany. She came to the company. I was, matter of fact, it was 2011. It was 2011 because she was there before Neil was born. But she came to the company 2011, PFC, straight out of AIT, first duty station. And 2013, 2013, I was the Rear D commander. Yes, I was a Rear D commander. And she came to the company. When I tell y'all, Janika was one of those, didn't play the radio with her. I mean, she had she would tell you how she feel. I would just put it like that. She would tell you how she feel. And one thing that I appreciate about her was she was always authentically herself, right? One thing that I appreciate about her, just being connected with her through the years, is she always exhibited strength, but she has a fearlessness of just saying, you know what? I'm not going to allow what happened to me to continue to impact me. I'm going to make the decisions and the choices and the hard decisions and hard choices to choose to heal so that I can move on and live my best life. And I commend you for that. And I just wanted to just say that because, you know, it was a powerful thing to see. And she said she was just discovering that she had a voice. And I would tell you, she discovered it very quickly, very quickly. And I knew that it was raw, and I knew that it needed some direction. But I also knew that in that boldness, there was a lot there. And I appreciate seeing the growth that she had and where she at right now. And I just wanted to give you a shout out, Janika, because I'm very, very proud of you and very proud to know you. And see the growth that you had, growth that you've exhibited over the years. Ms. Paige Banks said, I had this one problem with one of my sons. I was always there. However, I was so hard on him because of what he was doing. But he saw it as him being mistreated. However, we had a talk, and I said I was worried for whatever you feel. I was sorry for whatever you feel I did. So where do we go from this day? Not what happened yesterday, but today. But he still feel as he's the black sheep in the family. I asked him, who made you think the black sheep? Who made you think you the black sheep? I love all my children, but each of them has taught love. Each of them was taught love. When they needed me, I was always there. I would just say this, Ms. Pagebank, you know, at the end of the day, you can only do what you do. Everybody has their different journey. Everybody have their different way of processing. And a lot of people had to really get to the point that a lot of people have to really hear it for themselves. And a lot of times, I know as mom, as parents, we want to really help our kids and help them navigate. But the Bible said, train up a child in the way that they should go. And I know that's a hard thing, but at the end of the day, I can only control me. I love you. I respect you. I respect you for the decisions you make. I may not agree with all of them, but I'm here for you if you ever need me. And that's all I can do as a parent. And that's how I carry my mindset as a parent. Because, yeah, you want what's best for your kids. But at the end of the day, one thing I learned is I want them to make their decision. Because that's what I learned from my father. Even though we had our things, my dad always allowed us to make our own decisions. And I so am grateful for that, because I'm so grateful for that, because if he hadn't, I'd probably been in a completely different place right now. Janika said, during that time, and speaking of that time in 2013, she said, I was really broken and hurt, but you heard me and steered me back to God. My life changed for the better. I'll just say it's to God the glory on that. I was just, doing what I do. And, that's amazing the thing about God. We don't know how God will use different people and different things. But I'm just grateful and humble that I was able to be in a position to even help. That right there is something that it's just I had to take a moment and reflect on, and I'm very humbled and grateful that happened. But back to what we talked about with the subject, a lot of times I've been guilty of being present but not being there. We can be so focused on our jobs and being so ambitious that we prioritize certain things and not really be there in the ways that we could. And I can just remember even now being in the military, a lot of times it's hard because being separated from your family, you're going to do certain things, or that you're serving, but I would tell you one of the most helpless feeling in the world is being deployed, being in a whole nother country and can't be there for your family. Yeah, you can call, you can FaceTime, you can send money, you can make sure all of that there, but not being able to be there for my kid and sit down and just go sit in the room and talk to them, or have them ride in the car with me and we just having our moments. And those things are the times where I know that there were gaps and things, and I appreciate so much the resilience of my children and just having those moments where we sit down and we talk, because I understand there may be times where I have to go away, but the times that I'm there, I'm there. They if they need me, I am there. It's not a second thought. I would say my family comes first. It's not even negotiable. My family comes first, because at the end of the day, no matter what I achieve on my job, no matter how much money that I make, no matter what accomplishment that I make, at the end of the day, my family will be the ones that are with me. And that's why I make it a point to prioritize. I make it a point to not be that person and live in life that when I look back on my life and I'm on my deathbed and I'm looking back and I can be like, dang, I don't want to be that person that's like, dang, I wasn't there for them. Do you want to be that person? Yeah, I bought them. Yeah, I'm leaving them houses. I'm leaving them cars. I'm leaving them land. I'm leaving them money. I'm leaving them all of this stuff. And I done accomplished all of these things that I wanted to accomplish. I done bestseller author. I done sold albums. I done did all of this stuff. But for the people that God has blessed you with to be closest to you, they see you as somebody that just another person because you didn't prioritize them while you was here. I'm not going to be that person. I made my mind up that I would refuse to be that person. I refuse not to make time to be present because guess what? I ain't that tired. Why would I give so much of myself that I'm dog tired on my job, but I can't give nothing to my kids? What? No, I just refuse to do that. And you have to make that decision for yourself. But for me, no. Ms. Pace said, quality time with your children is a must. We have to make that time is important because you are in the house with them, but you are in one room and they are in another. It's definitely not quality time at all. Yes, and a lot of times, even with your spouse, even with your significant other, just because you're in the house, that don't mean that you're there for them. That don't mean that they 100% know that they can depend on you. No, you know if you are there for the other person or not. You know that. Ain't no faking it. It ain't no faking it. Even like for real, like a lot of you can tell when somebody is not genuinely there for you. They may do something for you, but you can definitely tell when somebody is not there genuinely for you. You can just tell. I will tell you listen, my grandmother could cook. Josephine Key Shepherd could cook. I mean, cook. Like, I mean, ooh to the wee. But a lot of it was her food was so good because of how she really cared about everybody. She genuinely cared about people. So she wanted them to, that feeling and that nostalgia of when I think about just going to my grandmama house and just the feeling that I got when I walked through the den and her and granddaddy, she's sitting in her chair, granddaddy sitting in his chair, and I walk in and I go kiss grandmama and I can sit on the floor with her and granddad and they getting their fussing doing what they doing. But I felt love. And when I ate, I felt love and you can just feel it. It was genuine. There's other people, they will invite you to their house and their house clean as a whistle, but you don't feel at home not one time while you in there because of what's going on with them. You cannot fake being genuine. You have to make that decision yourself on how you interact with those that are close to you so that you don't put yourself in position to be present but not there, especially from an emotional standpoint. We have so many people right now emotionally deficient because they have been neglected by their parents by not engaging them from an emotional perspective. And they grow up and go to relationships and they destroy relationships because they never got that emotional development. They desire it, but if they don't have the internal fortitude to continue to try to fight and I want to get better, a lot of them try to fight for that comfort zone, but they still just keep destroying relationship after relationship after relationship. And they never get to the realization that I'm the problem. I'm the problem. And we have to do that. My mom said, we know, we may not admit it. This is going to what I said about we know if we really want to and we genuinely want to be there for somebody. Mom said, we know, we may not want to admit it. We may not admit it, but we know. Oh, that's 100% true. 100% true. And I would just say this, you have to make a personal commitment of not being, if I'm going to be present, I'm going to be there. And listen, I ain't saying that 100% of the time that you got to go. Because listen, I know some single moms, they got 3 kids, all of them playing different sports, all of them doing different things. But if you know you genuinely being there, going all out for them, listen, I'm telling you, I am telling you, your kids will know. And there's nothing more assuring for anybody to know that without a shadow of a doubt, I know that person there for me. Because when I go back and look at it, Deborah Denise Brown Shepherd has always been my number one cheerleader. Even when she got on my nerves, being that cheerleader, She always been my number one cheerleader. She always been my number one critic, fussing at me while I played football because I hit somebody hard and the crowd go crazy, and then she fussing at me. Or I remember being in Little League. Now I was a big kid. I remember being in Little League. I'm going up the bat, and this all I hear in the stand. Come on, poo poo. Like, really, mama? That's what we doing? We doing that right now. I'm 10 years old, and you talking about come on, poo poo. The second biggest person on the team, me and Fred Patrick. But you talking about come on, poo poo. But my mama has always been there. Always been there. So that assurance, I don't know what it's like to not have, I know what it's like to experience that. I don't know what it's like, but I know what it's like also to not have my dad there and that void. So I had a chance of both. But I know people that didn't have none of that. And I would tell you, that's hard, man. That's hard for a lot of them emotionally to overcome. It's hard on them. Coach said, she got on your nerves? Yes, she did. Especially, come on, poo-poo. Coach, really? Coach, come on, poo-poo. You can do it. Like, nah, man. No. But I would tell you, those people who grew up and didn't have that, I would tell you, it is so scary and so hard for them from an emotional standpoint to even be vulnerable to the point to where you can grow together. They end up attacking the person that God may send to them in their life for them to grow and blossom. They end up attacking a person because they want to be there because they're not used to it. It's foreign to them. My mom said a parent with custody and a parent without custody need to make an effort to be there for their children. An effort. Yes, an effort. And not just a little bit. You need to go hard in the paint because it makes a difference. Miss Juanita said, I'm so thankful that I joined in on this live. I'm dealing with the same thing with my mom, which had caused me to lose my voice to speak on things that are unfair or just wrong. I recently gained my voice, my strength, and right to stand for what is right. Pride comes before a great fall. My prayers for her to be healed for her past trauma. Miss Juanita, thank you so much, because that's why I've been talking. I've been talking about healing for about a year now on this show. It's just everything ties into healing. Because a lot of us, we just have undealt with trauma. And we don't even see how, because daddy wasn't there or mama wasn't there, how that impacts how we act with our kids and how that has the potential to impact how they act with their kids. But I never deal with me as a grandparent. I'm not dealing with the issues that impacted me. So I don't even have the strength to go and say, hey, look, hey, child, I'm sorry. Hey, I want to apologize to you for this. Hey, guess what? And I made a post the other day on my page. I said that one of the biggest flex you can do as a parent is to admit that you was wrong and go back and apologize and make it right. Because parents, guess what? We make so many mistakes. And how many of us have genuinely went back to our kids and apologized for it? Especially even when we got older, like, man, dang, I was wrong for how I did that. Or we just chalk it up for it was what it was. And our kids walking around wounded from those actions. But we don't want to go back and say, you know what, I'm sorry for that. Hey, my mind at that place, I wasn't in a good place. I was just trying to survive. And I would tell you, when we don't deal with trauma, we operate in survival mode, and that hinders us from living an abundant life. It does. Coach Jenkins said, Mama, he said, Deborah Shepherd, you knew better than to call him poo-poo. Thank you, Coach. Get her. Miss Juanita said, amen. What I was talking about earlier, my mama said, we all need to be made whole. We don't blame, but we don't blame, but should help in finding healing for others, but specifically for ourselves. That is so true. And Janika said that, she said, I make it my business to apologize because just because I'm an adult doesn't make me right. Doesn't mean I can't make mistakes and apologize. I will tell you this. That's why so much as a people, and I'm speaking for people, African-American people, that's why we have so much problem with conflict resolution. Because we grow up in so many authoritative homes where you just shut up and do what I say. There's no dialogue that go back and forth where people can gain an understanding. There's no admittance that I was wrong. So the examples that we get is I'm always right no matter what, even when I'm wrong, shut up and just do what I say. So we grow up and we got generations after generations that grew up in an environment where it is automatically told to us, and we've automatically learned subconsciously is let me suppress everything. And that's why everybody talking about Janika said earlier and Miss Juanita said earlier, that's why you don't feel like you got a voice to speak or to be heard, because you always subconsciously had to suppress it. And I'm thankful, I am so thankful for the foresight of my parents, my dad and my mom, for teaching us the ability how to express ourselves. Now there's some byproducts to that. And one of the byproducts to that is my family, me and my sisters, we talkers. We talk a lot. But guess what? You would definitely know how I feel. I will clearly articulate to you how I feel because I was just brought up in that environment. So we have to start looking at that and seeing how they impact us. For real, really examine it and examine yourself like, man, how I grew up impacted me? And watch this. This is not a knock on mama or daddy. It just said, how did it impact you? Because we don't like dealing with that if it's on somebody that we love or we want to protect. We feel like we have to protect. But it's not a shot at them. Janika said, I tell my son all the time, I'm learning just like him. Because that is so true. That is so true. That doesn't, and matter of fact, that reassures your authority base. It does. Because when you can admit that you're wrong, as a child, your child see that. So guess what they're learning through your example? Guess what they're learning through your example? Ms. Paige Banks says, sometimes I dealt with something I dealt with as a child. I said to God, when I get grown and have children, I'm going to make sure I do things differently. And God allowed me to do that. My children never looked in the stands and didn't see me. And Ms. Juanita said, absolutely. My mom said, I love people who can genuinely apologize, but not constantly saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry is not an apology. It's a cop-out. To apologize, you must identify what you actually did and making the effort to change. And watch this, Miss Paige Banks. Janika said, she said the same thing and making the necessary change. And I would tell you, but watch this though. This is where it gets good at, Miss Paige Banks. God allowed you that opportunity if you had a different things to do things differently than what may have been done for you. But watch this. Don't use that as an excuse not to deal with any hurt or pain that came from it and came from that source. And a lot of times if we start peeling the onion back, sometimes mama and daddy couldn't be there because they had to work. Mama had to work. Mama had to do. I'm talking about those times where you know, you could have made a different decision and you chose not to be there. That's what I'm talking about. The times where you just said you was tired, but you ain't get up and go to the game and you knew that was a game. But then there's other times where when it's come to you hanging out with your friends and doing things you want to do, you get up and do it. That's the stuff that I'm talking about. But I will tell you that there's so much joy in being able to identify that, hey, I made a mistake, especially with our kids, because guess what? Hey, mommy missed your game. I apologize, I missed your game. Hey, daddy was a little tired yesterday. Daddy was tired yesterday, but guess what? I'm going to make it up. And I would tell you, when I promise stuff to my kids, especially my baby girl, Nia, if I tell Nia I'm going to take her to get some ice cream, the Cold Stone or somewhere like that, if I tell her, she going to remind me. It don't matter. I can be up in New York, Nia's in Augusta, and I can say, hey, Nia, when I get there, next time I come home, I'm going to take you to Cold Stone. So I get there in January. I ain't said nothing to Neil like, Daddy, you leave tomorrow, but you said that you were going to take me to get some ice cream. And they remembered it, right? And if I can't do it, guess what I said? I can't do it today, but we will do it tomorrow. And then if something else comes up, I make sure I give her brother, I give her sister, somebody the money to go take her for that. And I will communicate that to her, because I try to be as honest and open, because we got to make sure that we are there, not only financially, but emotionally for our kids and for those other people. And a lot of those things emotionally, we can't be there because we still damage ourselves and we don't want to do the necessary things to be whole ourselves. And we have to do that. It's non-negotiable. I understand now why in the ministries of Jesus, why Jesus asks, will thou be made whole? Because it boils down to you making that decision. And I would tell you, healing may seem so hard and especially frightening in its genesis and at the beginning, but it's so refreshing, so freeing, so necessary once you start that journey. And I've challenged anybody, whatever it may be, in whatever area it may be in, because watch this, just because one way impacted me, that don't mean that it impacted you, and we can all learn from each other. We can all learn from each other. I would tell you, Janika, you talking about you and your courage and what you're doing now and the steps that you made, you know, because we said, the Bible said we overcome the enemy by the blood of the Lamb, the sacrifice, what Jesus Christ did for us on the cross, and the words of our testimony. Those words of our testimony encourage us, because when we hear, it reminds us and reassures us that if God did it for them, he can do it for me. If God allowed me to heal in this area, I know he can allow me to heal in this area. But what are some of the steps and things that I need to do to heal? Because I know he healed you over here, but what about if it's deep and it's hurt? Hey, you just got to get to a point to where, you know what, you don't want that hurt and that trauma and that pain to have control over you anymore. You want to take back that control. And once you make that decision, I will tell you, God will surround you with different people. You will hear certain things, read certain things, things will pop up. I hear something in the song that would encourage me to keep going, to give me a little nugget or point me in the right direction, something to give me a different perspective of what I'm dealing with right then to help me navigate through where I'm at right now. And it may not seem as if that I'm moving, because guess what? I know that I see the huge mountain of the pain. But as I take it one day at a time and I look back, dang, a month later, I can see how far I've grown. And then God would do certain things where he would allow something to pop up that would have threw you off course before, but it's right now just like it is what it is. Boom, you move on. And then you can see the growth. And then that's where the encouragement coming in. That's where the hope come in. That's where you start to see your character change. And that's where your faith grows in that area and you grow in that area. And you start to see just how healing is manifested on a day-to-day basis. It's not that I say I'm going to be healed today and boom, tomorrow it is. No, what God in that healing, God first will start helping you start identifying what is actually wounded. Because a lot of times we don't even know what really hurt us. And it will help take us back to that point of what was. We just dealing with all of the symptoms that's manifested itself with it. But we can't even get back to what it was. And I would tell you, once you allow God to come in and help you identify what is the source of the pain, I will tell you, it is a powerful thing to go on that journey. And watch this. Once you realize the source, it doesn't matter about the face of it. You know where it came from, so you know how to deal with it. The source can be your mama, but if your mama the source can be your daddy, but if your daddy don't want to apologize and take ownership of what they did, because you were able to go back to the source, now on that healing process, you don't need them to apologize because you know it, you know where it came from. And you will begin, and then watch this, man. When you decide to heal, God will give you the eyes to see those who are wounded that was part of those who may have caused you pain. And you'll begin to get a perspective, and that perspective will be like, they hurt me because they hurt. And your heart will change, and you'll start wanting to have compassion towards them, that you'll start praying for their healing, even though they hurt you. Because God will see that, hey, it wasn't a personal thing. They were wounded. They didn't know how to deal with it. And here God started to see, that's why you don't want to pass that on to your child. You don't want to pass that on to in your relationship. You don't want to pass that on your job. You don't want to pass that on in your home. So you making a decision to say, you know what? I am going to do this. It's the buck stops with me. And when you make that decision, I will tell you, God will give you supernatural strength that you don't even understand. He will give you a peace that surpasses all understanding. You can go back to a place where you didn't even like going home before, because you just didn't like that environment, and just say you had to go home for something. And when you go home this time, all of the stuff that bothered you before, it don't bother you. And you don't even, you just sitting there like, in your mind, you're like, man, I got to deal with this stuff. But then when you get down there, God give you a peace. And same people doing the same thing that they're doing, but God give you a peace that surpasses understanding. And you're able to operate in that environment. And now everybody looking at you like, man, what's going on with them? And then boom, you go on. And I would tell you, this is listen. I know we're going a little bit over, but I really feel this is necessary to talk about. This is why this thing is so necessary. This is why your healing may not, your pain may not have been your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. Watch this. A lot of things happen to us that may have caused us pain. It's all part of the bigger plan of God to use that so that he can get the glory. Now watch this. Moses' mother, the story of Moses, his mother had him, they was killing all the babies at the time, and Moses' mother put him on the, they said, on the Nile, and Pharaoh's daughter found him and took him in. Pharaoh's daughter found Moses and took him in. The significance of that was Moses was separated from his folks. And you got to think about the identity crisis. I'm growing up. I know I'm a Hebrew. I know I'm different. And just think about all what he went through. Just to go back to Pharaoh, the person that he grew up with, and God used him to let his people go. Now, I'm not going to really just get all theological with this and start dissecting this on a very detailed level. But the point is, some things happen to you so that God could get you to the place where you at right now, so that you can decide to heal, so that can lead to healing, open up the door for healing for so many others who didn't have the strength and the courage and what God placed in you to start. Yes, it happened to you. But at the same time, because you decided that the buck stopped with me, God is going to use you to be a catalyst of healing for your family. Because what you may not know is the reason why mama or daddy was that way was because they may have been raped or molested or abused and dealt with so many different things that they just tried to cope with and get away from. But nobody ever talked about it because they didn't know who to talk to. We don't know. And I'm not making an excuse for the hurt and the pain that may have what has caused that pain for you. I'm not. That's not what I am talking about is how when you make the decision to say, you know what the devil meant for bad, the buck stopped with me. It's not going to my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids. It's not happening on my watch. I know what happened to me, but I'm going to trust God enough, and I'm willing to do the work and take the necessary steps to heal. Yes, it's going to be painful. Yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, all of these things, all of these unknowns. Yes, but I would tell you, when I got down the low, when I went through what I went through in 2008, When I went through where I went through, to the point to where, you know what, I said, I forget this, I'm going to counseling. And I went to see a psychologist. I went to see a psychologist. And I would tell you, with all of that stuff, what I realized is everything that I feared before I went and started talking for healing, when I got the courage to go do it, God opened up all these doors. And what he showed me was, Robert, everything that you needed was already lined up. I was just waiting on you. And everything that I went through, what I went through all of that whole situation that I went through, all of the heartaches, the hurts, the pains, that feeling, all those nights where I'm crying and where I'm screaming and I can't even, I got a knot in my throat and I just want to give up, and I'm battling suicidal ideations. I'm depressed. I don't even know what to do. I don't have the strength. I'm dealing with symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm just going through it. But God showed me he was a keeper. And what he also showed me was, Robert, I chose you to go through that, because if I didn't go through what I went through, I couldn't be able to talk about it, what I'm talking about now. So that's why I'm thankful and I'm grateful for what God has done for me. And I'm grateful for what I went through. And I've said all that to say this. What you going through is a setup for a breakthrough of healing, because you chose to say the buck stopped with me. And God's going to use you as a beacon of hope and a beacon of light for those that are connected to you, so they can choose to heal and they can start on their journey. So to God be the glory. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode. We got to remember, just because you're present in the person, in the flesh, doesn't mean that you're there, that you'll meet all of those needs. And if you're struggling with that, you need to address that. If you've done that before and you realize you've done that, go and apologize to those that you haven't been there. I will tell you one thing only. The God I serve is a keeper. He will keep you. And what I mean keep you is I didn't lose my mind, even though I was dealing with some emotional pains. Every time I wanted to give up, God reminded me, oh, you got your son. And he'll be like, didn't you say you want your son? And I was like, I did. See, you got your son. And when I wanted to give up, a promotion would come. Even when I didn't even feel like I didn't care about nothing. God reminded me, he sent people in my life to encourage me. He sent me to a church to love on me, to accept me where I was as is. And didn't judge, didn't cast no judgment, didn't do anything. Who allowed me to serve even while I was wounded. God lined all of that up. God did that. And from all of that, I was able to write so many songs that minister to people on levels where you couldn't understand it. The only way you understand it is you had to go through it. And I'm going to end on this, some lyrics to the song, He's a Keeper, that I wrote from during my time and when God was really there for me at one of my lowest places in my life. And it said, you don't know what I've been through, the tests and trials he brought me through. You couldn't see the hurt and the pain and all the guilt and all the shame. I couldn't see my way. At times I wanted to stray, but now I know that you are the one who kept me. The more and more I felt depressed, I couldn't see past all the stress. I couldn't see, or I couldn't understood. I couldn't see that it was for my good. I couldn't see my way. At times I wanted to stray, but now I know that you are the one who kept me. And I leave y'all with that. My prayers for healing, for those that are seeking it. My prayer is that truly, truly God gives you the strength and courage for healing. And if you need anything, need somebody to talk to, just have a question about whatever, feel free to reach out. Because guess what? I'm telling you, that's the best thing you could do for yourself and your family and your loved ones is you make the decision to choose to be healed, to be made whole. God bless.